this. Okay. I guess if you could just sort of describe how you started the Long Beach Junior Concert Band.
Yes,
If you could just sort of because you started that when you were in high school, right?
that's correct. Yes, sir.
Could you just sort of give me the paragraph description of how you went about doing that and how that happened?
I was a senior in high school in Long Beach, California, realizing that soon I would be going on to City College and no opportunity for a marching or concert band. I missed it already before I graduated. Got together with my director of music from Wilson High School, and he helped me. We organized and had a downtown office rented for the night for $5. Borrowed some folding chairs, used their music stands, and started rehearsing. My first rehearsal had 40 people. My second rehearsal was close to double of that. And it began to build, and over a period of years, we finally got ourselves some uniforms and started working. Actually, 1955, we got a set of uniforms, and at that point, we started competition activities and kept it ever since.
And you went into the Air Force, and I believe you said 1968?
Yes, 68 or 69, and took my basic training at San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base. And one of the things that we witnessed every day, depending on where we were doing our exercises and so forth, was the Drum and Bugle Corps. And they were out marching every day and playing. And what I noticed was a rather unique situation of one snare drum and a bass drum, and playing some very tight-sounding, what I would call somewhat syncopated street beat. It was more of a jazz style than just plain rat-a-tat-tat, and I liked it. And but then when I came back to Long Beach Junior Concert Band, I took the basic idea, added tenor drums, cymbals, so forth, and started the very first of many years of syncopated street beats. And that was our first street beat. We called it Lackland. And from that point on, the young people in the organization themselves would create the street beats, and then they would play them, and then they would vote on them. And at that point, they've got probably several dozen unique street beats which are named, and they have hand signals which indicate which is the next street beat to come, because they can't hear themselves or listen to commands when they're playing. And we are doing that today.
Could you sort of define syncopated drumming for me?
Well, syncopated is like oompa oompa, kind of what I would call an offbeat type situation, with tenor drums coming in both on the beat and off the beat, and it makes a kind of a jazzy style, and yet they can add their own street beat, or shall we say their basic street beat, and add to it. So you will have your snare drums, and then with bass drums, they can be used both for on the beat and off the beat additions. And the bass drum accordingly. Sometimes our bass drums are not really on the beat; they're more off the beat, giving a full oompa 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 type of feeling.
And the regimental is the very on the beat sort of, or the rudimental. Sorry.
Rudimental, of course, is taught in the schools. It's excellent, and I remember I took a course of percussion. I didn't really learn very much. My instrument is trumpet, but I took it, and just because I wanted to get the feel of actually taking two snare sticks and making rhythm. And but because of the nature of syncopated, it just seems to grab at people. I mean, we played it in front of thousands of people in stadiums and on television and so forth, and people sit up and say, wow, listen to that. And that's why we've kept it going. Plus, all of the kids that I've had over the years, they like it. And what is a tribute to Syncopated is that after years and years of denying it, now the school bands, many of them, are using it, particularly during football season. In fact, they are featuring their drum squads in music or street beats that just gets the audience up on their feet and clapping and screaming. So it's we're going to hold on to it for a while. We've done it for 50 years, and we're just going to stick with it.
There's several bands that Greg Odell had pointed me towards that were former members of the junior concert band that had gone on to start their own. I guess the syncopated drumming corps. How many of those do you know of? I mean, how popular is it outside of the Long Beach area? Excuse me, area.
I only know of roughly 3 in this area, and it's a situation that we found ourselves in for many, many years. We had no sponsorship, and we just lived from hand to mouth, shall we say, and didn't have a place to rehearse, store equipment, repair equipment, things like that for many years. I referred to my band as a nomadic tribe in the wilderness looking for a home. And but we were able to keep our equipment. We carried them around in station wagons and so forth. So in '86, we finally got an equipment truck, and so these groups are really they just decide they want to do it, or they'll get together with some old timers, alumni, past members of the organization, and they'll say, let's create our own group. And I know of 3 of them at this point, and but they're not doing very strong. Usually their forte is in Christmas parades in the local area, where they really just tear up the streets. And again, it's a situation where, well, for example, we played on the 2nd of July this year for the senior citizens, almost 1,000 senior citizens in wheelchairs and chairs and all dressed up in red, white, and blue. And I worry because they bring us in every year to put on a show for them. And one of the first things they say is, be sure you bring the drums. They love it. And this year we did it. We gave them an extra bit of drums, and when we finished, those people got up out of their chairs and gave us a standing ovation. I hated to see that because I'm sure that it was very difficult for some of them to stand up, but they did. And again, it was they wanted the syncopated drummers.
And you've got a drum line that do they operate separately from the band?
No, but they can operate separately from the band. And I have taken them out as a unit where someone wanted a group to surprise somebody on their birthday or something like that, and we'll form a block away. And as we get closer, suddenly we'll go on ahead and wake up the whole neighborhood, and we'll march into the house. We'll march out of the house in the backyard and put on a show. We can do about 10, 12 minutes of just complete street beats without stopping, and of course we can break it up into 2 or 3 sessions. The rest of the time, the band and the percussion group are one, so they have to come in and learn concert music and all of that.
How many appearances do you guys do in a year?
Anywhere from 40 to 50. This includes concerts. We go out of state every year to Las Vegas, and for 4 days, and 2 of those days are school days, so we get permission from the schools to be excused, and we will then go to the Clark County schools, and over the years they keep asking for more and more. We did 6 schools this year, and we'll probably do 7 next year, and of course we don't take lengthy trips, but 7 years ago we had the opportunity to represent Long Beach and their sister city, Yokkaichi, Japan, and we went over for 8 days and participated in their centennial, and it was great. We have gone to Portland, Oregon for the Rose Festival. We've been in the Pasadena Tournament of Roses, and all kinds of, say, very local activities. Prescott, Arizona, for example, we used to go year after year for their big rodeo days and spend several days there performing for the rodeo and their big parade. So, and again, because we are subsidized by City of Long Beach, particularly for our rent on a warehouse that we finally got permission to rent. That's fine. We do basically what they want us to do, and so most of our activities are in the local area.
And you mentioned last time I spoke with you about the trouble you've had finding places that you guys can practice.
That is true, and I'm sure that any drum squad will find that to be true. Fortunately, years ago, we had McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Factory in Long Beach, and huge parking lots away from the living areas, and we've been able to use that. And then they sold out to Boeing, or Boeing came in and took over, and we went through their routine and officially got permission to use their facility one night a week from about 6:30 to 9 o'clock at the latest. And so, again, we're in a situation where we were able to go on a particular day and work with them. Now that we have a warehouse, of course, is in an area away from living quarters, although they're moving in closer and closer every year. But and we built a room, not soundproof, but padded it as best as we could with the mirrors, so they could get in there, see their strides, see their arm swings, and uniformity of sticking, and that's where they participate most of the time.
I guess you'd kind of touched on the hand signals. That was one other thing I'd kind of wanted to ask about.
For example, if you're marching down the street and you're finishing up one street beat, what's the next one? You don't just play the same ones over and over again. And the head drummer is the right guide, front rank of percussion, and they have signals. We've even got a big sheet showing the hand signals, which will be fingers, circles with fingers up or down, waving of the hand, rotating of the hand, things like that. And each of those stands for a particular street beat. Once they do that, he raises his arm and he goes up. Everybody can look from the right, from the left side, and looks down to the right and catch him. Plus, everybody in the ranks behind will be able to see the signal, and they smoothly go from one to the other.
And how do you guys? I know you'd said that a lot of the students come up with the street beats. What's the sort of process for creating one of those?
Actually, over the years, it's just been those that are enthusiastic about it. Our percussion members, they may go home. In fact, I've had complaints from teachers that they rat-a-tat-tat with their fingernails on the desk during school time and so forth, and they get that feeling, and they decide they're going to come up with something. And when they do, then they present it to the group, to the head drummer, and so they get in there and they work on it and get it fairly good, and then they will sit back and they will talk about it, and it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If a majority say thumbs up, it's added to the repertoire. Maybe some changes made to it, but everybody knows exactly what the changes are, and pretty soon, and they're named after the guys' girlfriends and sisters and so forth, that they each have a name. So maybe Patty, maybe Sally, maybe Helen or something like that. But then they have to create a hand signal for that, and it's worked for years.
I guess I'd like to go back to the time at Lackland, and you were just let me try to figure out how I want to hit this. You were there for a month or two, saw all that, went back, and I guess if you could sort of talk about what it took to create the drum line and teach them how to do the syncopated drumming and that sort of thing?
Well, I went to Lackland for basic training, and I think it was 11 weeks. I remember that at the time it was the longest basic training of any of the armed forces. I was joining the full-time reserve, and after that I came back to Long Beach to finish out my 6 months of what they call on-the-job training. And in Long Beach, we had a small Air Force base right by the airport, and I was stationed there, and they had a small hospital unit, and I was a lab tech. It worked out fine. Then every summer, I would get on board a plane with all the rest of the troops, and we would go back to Lackland or Brooks Air Force Base, which is not too far away, and work in the big hospital in Lackland. We were, of course, we have one weekend a month to continue that, and I stayed through that until I fulfilled my enlistment. We got alerted a couple of times, and I was pretty sure that Korea was going to be in my future, but things did not work out that way, and so I had 5.5 years, shall we say, of uneventful, but I learned an awful lot about being a lab tech, and I assisted in autopsies and things like that, which I hadn't planned on doing, but just got assigned to it. So I got to learn a little bit more about the human body, and I think I probably take better care of myself with things that I've learned through the Air Force. So that was basically it. It was the Air Force and the opportunity to listen every day to this drum and bugle corps group. And sometimes they were playing, sometimes they were just marching, and sometimes you could just hear them standing still and practicing their beats. And as I say, it was only a snare drum and a bass drum. And I thought, so much can be added. And so I got tenor drums, and here we go. It's been great for 50 years.
You'd had 15 years of I guess more than that if you'd started the band in high school, of experience, and so you saw that, and it really sort of stuck with you, I guess.
Yes, and it sticks with the kids. And remember, when you run a group like I do, you don't do it to get a grade, or if you need to be disciplined, you don't go to the principal. You have to want to be a part of it. We have a saying in this organization, OBST, which is our band sticks together. We even chant it and get the kids' spirit up, because the least qualified person brings the quality of the organization down. So they're all working with each other, trying to improve themselves so they can go out and compete. And as a full marching band, with the percussion, they work twice as hard as any of the musicians, because they are constantly bringing in new people who want to learn drums. They're begging to learn drums. And one of the things I've been proud about is that there are young men that have been absolutely destined for nothing. They were in junior high school or high school, no plans for the future and so forth, and came down with a friend and watched a rehearsal and turned right around and said, I want to learn that. And after several months of teaching by rote, they have become excellent members and stayed with the organization for years.
Could you speak about, I mean, you sort of addressed it, but if you could say a little bit more about the difficulties of running a volunteer organization like this?
Well, first of all, you need support. And for the first few years of being uniformed, or actually even not being uniformed, we were doing like park concerts and so forth. And we just went out and performed, and people would come and they'd stay if they like us, and they'd leave if they didn't like us. But we built ourselves up in membership, and then we got the enthusiasm. Well, go out and let's go into a parade. And so we grabbed some Hawaiian shirts, red, yellow, green, heliotroped it, making difference what color. And in those days, concert slacks or skirts were gray in color, so they used their concert slacks or skirts along with dark shoes and a little cap. Well, we went out and marched a parade and won it, and couldn't believe it. I will remember that on the score sheet, one of the judges wrote, "Your uniform is unique," and so the kids, "Oh, let's go, from on, let's keep going, let's keep going." Well, pretty soon it was no longer summertime. Hawaiian shirts were inappropriate, and so we were buying white shirts and no, excuse me, short sleeve or long sleeve, red shirts, a little white cap, white duck pants, trousers, and we finally switched to all white shoes. But finally, we got a uniform that we liked very, very much. We started raising money, and our first order came in with 40 uniforms, and that was our beginning. But again, you didn't have that kind of following. You didn't have that support because the people, particularly in Long Beach, which had the one of the most outstanding full-time municipal bands and had been for many, many decades, and they were, of course, fully supported. And not only that, but they were in the charter that there was going to be a full-time municipal band. Actually, that's now changed. It's a part-time municipal band, but they use professional players, professional conductors, and so forth. I know I had the opportunity to conduct one of their concerts a couple of years ago, and got the biggest thrill out of it because it's not working with kids; it was working with adults. We rehearsed the music one time and then went out and performed for an audience. But I guess support is the important thing. But you've got to get the kids out like we did. And I keep saying kids because those are the ones that I worked with for rummage sales, newspaper collections. Now aluminum cans are popular. These are things that are not easy, difficult to get hold of, and it's just a matter of accumulating and going to their neighbors and picking up their, say, save the papers, save the aluminum cans, save this and for that. And then we've done so many car washes, I can't believe, and that helps. And all we had to do was invest in some soap and buckets and rags and cleaning rags, and usually a gas station will allow us to use a portion of their lot. That brings in a lot of new customers for them, and we have people that are used to going to the restaurant and they to the station, and they will come in and see us, and then they'll load up with gas and come around, get in line and pay $2 or $3, whatever it is, to get their car washed, and then they remember it. In the future, we'll go back to the same station and we'll do this, we'll do that. So you just have to get support amongst yourself, amongst your parents. I have been fortunate to have volunteer parents. I have some who are still with me after 30 years. I have mothers that brought their kids in. The kids grew up, graduated, married, moved away, and the parents stayed. So it's a love of what we're doing for the kids. Plus, we work very much on discipline, and you don't see that too much these days in the schools. I mean, they're limited to what they can do. With my group, hey, here's the rules. Follow it. Terrific. If you don't want to follow it, that's fine. But this is not the place that you want to be. And I've had thousands come through the ranks, so that's what it takes. Is just backing, and everybody gets in and works. OBST, our band sticks together.
Have you seen the Last Regiment perform? Greg Odell's group?
No, I have not.
Okay, well that makes that easy. Do you have anything you'd like to add to say about the future of syncopated drumming, anything like that?
I don't know what the future will be. I can't see it going away. It might be modified somewhat, but as long as people are interested in a beat, I mean, something that gets you moving. We will see people along the streets as we're marching down the street and playing. Their toes will be tapping, their hands are clapping, they're jumping up and down. And it seems like everybody wants to be a drummer because you'll see them with both hands up and down, up and down, up and down, as if they're playing a kettle drum or something like that, because they just do it along with the beat. And for the kids in the organization, this is what they like. And, if I had an outstanding rudimental group, it would be nice. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think they get more enthusiasm from the person who says, I don't know whether it's rudimental or syncopated or what. I just like the beat. It makes me get up and want to move. And I'm talking about grandmothers and grandfathers and so forth, as I told you in the Senior Citizen Center. They'll see us and they'll automatically turn down their hearing aids, which I will remind them each time, and they'll just rock the room. And when it's finished, as I say, this time they were up on their feet, and makes our kids feel terrific. We love to celebrate the 4th of July on either the 3rd of July or 2nd of July, as it was this year, because they don't meet on weekends. So I just don't see anything that's going to block it from the future. It may change somewhat. Styles change, but to get a beat, to get yourself feeling excited and listen to the snares come in and then boom 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 with the tenors, and we do have street beats, which we now feature bass drums. They split from the back, they come around to the front, they face each other, and you'll have the drums, the bass drums featured with an offbeats from the snares and tenors.
Well, I really appreciate your time and all the help you give me on this. When I get it kind of finished, I'll. Did you have an email address?
Sure do.
Let me write that down. All right. What is it?
Initial M, last name Marker, so it's MMARKER
Okay.
at charter CHARTER.org.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be pretty good. And like I say, I really appreciate your time. It's been a big help to kind of.
Well, I might add before you hang up,
okay.
I appreciate your interest. That I've had a chance to chat with Greg and saw him personally at his father's birthday. His father and I have gone through school since kindergarten, and in Long Beach area, and he's just a fine person. And Greg. So enthusiastic talking to him over the phone, and then I finally had a chance to meet him, and he's just as exciting as the impression that he gave me. And apparently, his group is coming along very nicely. I hope he continues to find backing and support for it. And it's kind of like to quote Sousa. Of course, this has nothing to do with blowing a horn, but they say the boy who blows a horn will never blow a safe. Well, I don't know how true that is, but I know that music, in any form, keeps you out of trouble. And when you're in an organized group and each person is playing their best so that the whole group sounds the best. And I congratulate Greg Odell for taking us on and wish him well.
Well, that's nice. He was, he said, well, when you get done talking to him, give me a copy of it, because I'm really interested to hear the history of it too. So
that's it.
All right. Well, like I say again, I really appreciate it, and I'll keep you posted on how it turns out.
Great.
All right. Well, have a good day.
You too.
All right. Bye.